drugstore and you'll notice the cannabis sign. This is when drugs or medicine was real, not like the fake stuff we get now, which is there just to poison us. And here's another photo, and if you see behind the cat, a lovely cannabis plant. Trump, you will find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center. Bush and globalists on notice. The world will know the truth. French government huddles as unions vow to harden strike. French officials met Friday to set out their strategy ahead of fresh talks with unions furious over planned pension overhauls, with Labour leaders warning of new strike action alongside a gruelling transport strike now in its 30th day, along with the regular Saturday protest by the Gilets jaunes or Yellow Vests. The government is at work to try to find a way toward a rapid compromise. Spokeswoman Sibeth Ndiaye told France 2 television as Prime Minister Edouard Philippe gathered ministers for the unscheduling meeting. Unions have roundly rejected plans to scrap France's 42 separate pension regimes for a single points-based system, which they say could require millions of people to work beyond the official retirement age of 62. Whereas in this country they're on about increasing it to 85. Shall we just get to Parliament now and drag them out and make them see that we're not up for that? We've had enough of the bullshit that happens in that place. The den of corruption. Thieves, fraudsters, robbers and violent criminals are being spared prison sentences despite committing up to 60 previous offences, figures reveal. Data from MOJ found offenders received dozens of convictions before being jailed. Figures found the highest number of prior offences or cautions was 60 for theft. Between 2016 and 2018, one offender gathered 53 priors for fraud before jailed. Thieves, fraudsters, robbers and violent criminals are being spared prison sentences despite committing up to 60 previous offences, new data has revealed. Figures from the Ministry of Justice showed that offenders were receiving dozens of convictions and cautions before being handed a custodial sentence. The research, which spanned the years 2016 to 2018, found the highest number of prior offences before prison sentence was 60 for theft, with a peak of 53 noted at the start of a period and 38 at the end. Fresh Cambridge Analytica leaks show global manipulation is out of control. Companies work in 68 countries laid bare with release of more than 100,000 documents. An explosive leak of tens of thousands of documents from the defunct data firm Cambridge Analytica is set to expose the inner workings of the company that collapsed after the Observer revealed it had misappropriated 87 million Facebook profiles. More than 100,000 documents relating to work in 68 countries that will lay bare the global infrastructure of an operation used to manipulate voters on an industrial scale are set to be released over the next few months. It comes as Christopher Steele, the ex-head of MI6 Russia desk and the intelligence expert behind the so-called Steele dossier into Trump's relationship with Russia, said that while the company had closed down, the failure to properly punish bad actors meant that the prospects for manipulation of the US election this year were even worse. Greta Thunberg's great-grandfather turns out to be the inventor of the greenhouse effect and population reduction through eugenics. Well, you couldn't make it up, could you? If someone suddenly receives so much attention and is the rising star of the world stage, that is usually no coincidence. Also, in the case of the Swedish climate and environment activist Greta Thunberg, it seems that a proper planning had preceded this. Her mother, Malena Ernman, won the final for the Swedish participation in the Eurovision Song Contest in 2009 and thus became a familiar face, which is useful in if your daughter looks like you and later has to become a world star. The secret promotion probably already started there. You can answer the question whether Mother Malena can really sing so well. See here, there's a link. However, it is much more interesting to study the Thunberg family and find out, and you will find that the subject CO2, global warming and population reduction are descended from the same family. We all know that she's been bought and paid for shill, and this is just proving it, the evidence. Police to sue over radio sickness. I hope the cops that are listening are paying attention to this, because I've warned you numerous times that them tetramasts and those radios you carry are deadly. Police officers are preparing to sue their chief constable after claiming that their controversial new 3 billion radio system is making them seriously ill. An unknown number of Lancashire officers have reported a string of medical complaints since the terrestrial trunked radio system was introduced 2 years ago, and are now in talks with their legal representatives over lodging claims for compensation. Some claim to have suffered severe deafness, while migraines, nausea and body warming have also been regularly cited. In a survey by the Lancashire Police Federation, more than 170 officers said that they have suffered since the new system was introduced. One scene of crime investigator is understood to have been diagnosed with a tumour. The news of the proposed action will come as a blow to the Home Office, which is pursuing the Tetra system hard, but after serious concerns were raised about its effect on health, have been forced to commission an independent study carried out by experts at London's Imperial College. The medieval, unacceptable Corporation of London right for protest. Working beyond the authority of Parliament, the Corporation of London undermines all attempts to curb the excess to finance. It's the dark heart of Britain, the place where democracy goes to die. Immensely powerful, equally unaccountable, but I doubt that anyone in 10 British people has any idea what the Corporation of the City of London is and how it works. This could be about to change. Alongside the Church of England, the corporation is seeking to evict the protesters camped outside St Paul's Cathedral. The protesters in turn have demanded that it submit of national oversight and control. What is this thing? Ostensibly, it's the equivalent of a local council, responsible for a small area of London known as a square mile. But as its website boasts, among local authorities, the City of London is unique because they are not classed as part of the UK. There's own sovereign state that looks after the financial side of the Illuminati, while Washington DC looks after the military side of the Illuminati, and the Vatican looks after the spiritual side of the Illuminati. Rothschilds wants Iran's banks. Why? Simply because if they don't own the bank, you can't control them and write their money and basically control them. Could gaining control of the Central Bank of Islamic Republic of Iran, CBI, be one of the main reasons that Iran is being targeted by Western and Israeli powers, as tensions are building up for an unthinkable war, which it is worth exploring Iran's banking system compared to the US, British and Israeli counterparts. And that's the real reason they're going after Iran. And the money of the petrol, diesel and all that sort of stuff. Gaining control... Some researchers are pointing out that Iran is one of the only three countries left in the world whose central bank is not under Rothschild control. Before 9/11, there were reportedly 7: Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Cuba, North Korea and Iran. By 2003, however, Afghanistan and Iraq were swallowed up by the Rothschilds' octopus. And by 2011, Sudan and Libya were also gone. In Libya, a Rothschild bank was established in Benghazi while the country was still at war, which is what the invasion of Libya was really all about. Islam forbids the charge of interest, a major problem for the Rothschild banking system. Until a few hundred years ago, charging interest was also forbidden in the Christian world and was even punishable by death, and it still should be. It was considered exploitation and enslavement, which it is. Since the Rothschilds took over the Bank of England around 1815, they have been expanding their banking control over the countries of the world. Their method has been to get the country's corrupt politicians to accept massive loans which they can never repay, and thus go into debt to the Rothschilds' banking powers. If a leader refuses to accept the loan, he is often times either ousted or assassinated, and if that fails, invasion can follow, and a Rothschild usury-backed banking system is established. The Rothschilds exert powerful influence over the world's major news agencies. By repetition, the masses are duped into believing horror stories about evil villains. The Rothschild control the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the IMF, the World Bank, and the Bank of International Settlements. Also, they own most of the gold in the world, as well as the London Gold Exchange, which sets the price of gold every day. It is said the family owns over half of the wealth of the planet, estimated by Credit Suisse to be $231 trillion, and is controlled by Evelyn de Rothschild, the current head of the family, and needs to face the ultimate punishment for their criminal activity. And of course, our politicians are all bought and paid for by the Rothschilds anyway, so don't hope for any change there. Mirror. I lost 5 stone with Slimming World. Great. Your top telly for 2020. Not interested. Gulf War 3 fears. Attack the White House. Iran targets Trump with threats around 60 million bounty. They row back on nuke deal raising weapons fear. Boris calls for calm as US boosts troops in the Gulf. They're pushing for World War III, and Iran is... they can take the banking system over at the same time, can't they? The Times. We will kill UK troops, warns Iran. Johnson calls for calm as rockets hit green zone. Don't believe a word of it. They haven't said that at all. Atheists put their faith in godlike cats. HS2 could hit 100 billion. It has to be stopped. It's a total failure by the government, and the government need to go as well. Rod Stewart charged. Teenagers anguish. Fire haze spreads. Retail property deal Sibley unbeaten. And coming back to that fire haze, they're talking about Australia, where the Australian government have been deliberately setting fires to and selling off all the water to private corporations, foreign corporations. But hey, it's not like they don't do exactly the same in this country. The Guardian. Nicola Roberts' therapy opened all the boxes. Pressure grows on Trump to justify Soleimani killing. Opposition to abortion increases on campus. Pompeo fails to quell scepticism over claims US faced imminent attack. The intelligence assessment made clear that no action created more risk than taking action, but they did it anyway. Stream wars. Can Disney halt Netflix rise in 2020? Metro. Escape. Anyone fancy a pop pilgrim to Dollywood? Climate change climb down. Oz PM says there is a link to bushfires. Well, of course there is. But let's not forget, they've got these chemtrails and HARP devices. They could make it rain and put the fire out, but they don't want it out. That's how you know. Get your troops out. Iraq's order to US and Britain after assassination. The race for the Labour leadership. Sir Elton, why I don't tell my kids off. 60 seconds with James May. No thanks. This scum. £9.50 holidays. Laura, I'll give it my best shot. And as Iran rips up nuke deal, no tears for a terrorist. PM slain general killed thousands. Remember, it's in the shit sheets, the propaganda sheets, so you can't believe any of this shit. Any of it, I'm telling you. Daily fail. Johnson finally breaks silence on crisis. He backs Trump, saying UK won't lament general's death. but he urges calm about from all sides. PM walks tightrope over Iran. Frailing Eve at the Globes. Express. Way to switch off pain could halt misery for millions. Clamour for giant Brexit jamboree. Boris, we will not lament his death. PM speaks out on killing of general as Iran offers 80 million bounty for Trump. That's Adele of a makeover. Telegraph. Do not dare to strike at US, Johnson warns Iran. Prime Minister calls for de-escalation of hostilities as US and Tehran trade threats. Labour could fight to rejoin EU if Philippe is elected. We haven't even left yet and they're on about taking us back. They see that we're not leaving. We are not leaving. Cyprus travel safety advice under review. Pubs in care homes give residents cheer. Harvey Weinstein, I still belong in show business. I've got plenty more women to rape. Quantitative easing to make a return in 2020. So more bullshit, and are we seriously putting up with this, or are we just going to Parliament, drag the bastards out and lock the lot of them up because that's where they deserve to be? They couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery. That's if they were just crap at it. But as it turns out, they're working, bought and paid for to a certain agenda. Iran crisis. PM warns against reprisals. Johnson calls on Tehran not to retaliate after general's death. Iran ends nuclear agreement. UK could be dragged into war. HS2 rail budget out of control. Something else the government's useless at. Couldn't even build a bleeding train line. That's how shit the government is. Hugely controversial high-speed link from London to North to cost taxpayers 40 billion extra. Deputy Chairman of Review Panel says figures have been fiddled. Lord Beckley says cash would be better spent on northern commuters' lines. Well, anything better than the shit it's being wasted on. Labour rivals agree Corbyn manifesto was flawed. Don't say the B word. Modern pitfalls for a standoff or stand-up. Australian wildfires could burn for months, especially because they're not trying to put them out. It's more corruption, but hey, you all know about it. Utter waste of paper. Adele's Holland big tip. Brit Helen shocker. Space girl, aliens are real. FT. Iran rolls back on nuclear deal as Iraq seeks removal of US troops. Accord ditched after Soleiman killing. Nation mourns. Outcry spurs Baghdad vote. Europe will hit back if Trump punishes France for tax on big tech, warns Paris. KPMG facing testing 2020 after string of scandals. And finally, the official winner of the Not My Job contest. No, I don't want to go back to school. I know, honey, I know, but you have to. Why? Because you're the teacher. Shag. Funny word, isn't it? To a carpet maker, it's a long pile rug. To a smoker, it's a type of tobacco. To an American, it's a dance. To an ornithologist, it's a bird. And to you, you ugly bastard, it's just a remote possibility. This picture of a crow is interesting because it's actually a cat.